like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
All right, are you ready for another Premier League weekend? It's almost time for Matchday 20, and we've got a really cool deep dive lined up.
Oh, sounds exciting. What's on the agenda?
Well, we're taking a look at some expert predictions from Rotoballer's article. Trying to get those insider insights.
Trying to sound like real pundits at the pub, eh?
Exactly. Impress our mates with their football knowledge. But seriously, I think there's a lot to unpack here.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's caught your eye so far?
Well, first off, it seems like the author of this piece had a bit of a rough time on Matchday 19. A few missed predictions, especially some high-scoring games that didn't quite pan out.
Ah, the elusive goals. Happens to the best of us. So they're looking for a bit of redemption this week.
That's what it seems like. They're highlighting a bunch of matches this week that they think could be real goal fests, maybe hoping to make up for those missed opportunities from last week. What do you think?
Well, let's dive into some of those matches then and see if we agree with their assessments.
Perfect. Okay, so first up, Tottenham versus Newcastle. What a matchup. Now, this one's being billed as a potential goal fest, and for good reason.
Yeah, Newcastle's new striker has been on fire lately, scoring goals left and right.
Exactly. And on the other side, Tottenham's defense hasn't looked so solid on the road this season.
Yeah, that's a recipe for goals, for sure. Does the author have a clear prediction for this one?
They're leaning towards a draw, but they emphasize the both teams to score bet, which makes sense, given what we've just discussed. What do you think? Too close to call?
I think a draw is definitely a real possibility here. Both teams have a lot of attacking firepower.
All right, moving on to another match that's catching everyone's attention. Aston Villa versus Leicester.
Okay, what's the story with this one? Why are we expecting goals galore?
Well, Aston Villa has been a force to be reckoned with at home, and Leicester's defense has been, well, a bit leaky, to say the least.
Oh, I see. So it's the unstoppable force meeting the movable object kind of situation.
Yeah, you got it. The author seems to think Aston Villa will come out on top, but honestly, with these two sides, I'm more interested in seeing the total goal scored rather than the actual outcome.
Yeah, I can see that. It could be one of those thrilling back-and-forth matches where defense takes a back seat.
Absolutely. Okay, next up, we've got Bournemouth versus Everton. Now, Bournemouth is on a bit of a roll right now. They're undefeated in their last few matches.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive. How are they pulling that off?
I think it's a combination of things. Solid defense, a bit of luck, and some key players stepping up at the right moments. But the question is, can they keep the streak going against Everton?
Well, Everton's been struggling to find the back of the net lately, so that might play in Bournemouth's favor.
The author seems to think so. They're actually suggesting that under 2.5 total goals might be a good bet in this one.
Really? So they're going against the grain a bit with this prediction. It sounds like they're pretty confident in Bournemouth's ability to shut down Everton's attack.
It'll be interesting to see if that prediction holds up. Speaking of intriguing matches, let's talk about Crystal Palace versus Chelsea.
Okay, what's the catch with this one?
Well, Crystal Palace has this reputation for being a bit of a giant killer, especially at home. And Chelsea's away form has been less than stellar lately.
So we could have a potential upset brewing here.
The author seems to think so. They're predicting a draw. They highlight Palace's resilience and Chelsea's inconsistencies on the road. I wouldn't be surprised if Palace managed to snatch a point, or even all three.
Yeah, it definitely feels like one of those matches where anything could happen. You never quite know which Chelsea team will show up.
All right, let's move on to a match that, on paper at least, seems a bit more predictable. Manchester City versus West Ham.
Okay, City's the clear favorite here, right?
Well, yeah, on paper they are. But the big question is, can West Ham's defense withstand the relentless attacking power of City?
That's the challenge facing any team that goes up against City. They're a goal-scoring machine.
The author's prediction is a dominant City win. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that assessment. City's in top form, and West Ham's defense hasn't been their strongest point this season.
Okay, I'm marking this one down as a likely City victory. But hey, we've seen upsets before.
Never say never in the Premier League. Okay, another match where we might see some fireworks is Southampton versus Brentford.
What's the thinking behind this one?
Well, both teams have been having a bit of trouble defensively. Leaky defenses, you might say.
Ah, so we could have another high-scoring affair on our hands, even if it ends in a draw.
Exactly. The author is leaning towards a draw as well, but they're not ruling out the possibility of a goal fest.
It's funny how some matches seem to have draw written all over them even before a ball is kicked.
Okay, up next, Brighton hosting Arsenal. Now, Brighton has a reputation for being tough to break down, especially at home.
Ah, yes, the classic underdog story. And Arsenal, well, they've been playing some beautiful attacking football this season.
Exactly. So this one has the potential to be a real clash of styles. What does the author predict?
They're giving the edge to Arsenal, but they acknowledge that Brighton won't go down without a fight.
Yeah, I can see that. Brighton always gives the big teams a run for their money, especially at their home ground.
All right, I'm intrigued by this one. It could go either way.
Okay, let's switch gears to a match where one team is heavily favored. Fulham taking on Ipswich Town at home.
Fulham at home, they should have this one in the bag, right?
You'd think so. Fulham's form has been a bit up and down lately, but they're still expected to come out on top against Ipswich, who have been struggling on the road.
So a comfortable Fulham victory. What does the author say?
They're predicting a Fulham win, highlighting their home advantage and Ipswich's away form. But they also think this one could be high scoring, given both teams' tendencies towards attacking football.
Okay, so maybe not a walk in the park for Fulham, but they should still secure the 3 points.
We'll see. All right, time for the main event, the match everyone's been waiting for. Liverpool versus Manchester United.
Ooh, the clash of the Titans. Doesn't get much bigger than this.
You know it. But this season, there seems to be a pretty significant gap between these two sides. Liverpool are in their usual dominant form, while Manchester United has had a tough time finding consistency.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for United this season. But you know what they say? Anything can happen on Derby Day.
Exactly. You never know what to expect when these two teams meet. But what's the author's prediction? Are they buying into the anything can happen narrative?
They're going with a resounding Liverpool victory, which, on paper, seems like a reasonable prediction. But yeah, you never know.
I'm curious to see how Manchester United responds to the pressure. Okay, last match highlight before we dive into the betting strategy is Wolves versus Nottingham Forest.
Wolves, huh? They've been a bit of an enigma this season.
They have. But they're coming into this one with some positive momentum, and so is Nottingham Forest, which makes this a really intriguing match.
So what's the verdict? Close contest or a clear favorite?
The author is predicting a draw. They acknowledge the strength of both sides, but ultimately favor a stalemate. But here's where things get really interesting. They're focusing on Hwang Hee-chan.
Hwang Hee-chan. Why him specifically?
Well, he's been in fantastic form recently, and with Matthias Cunha out injured, Hwang is likely to play a pivotal role in Wolves' attack. The author even suggests that his performance could be the deciding factor in this match.
Interesting. So we've got potential upsets, goal fests, and individual players ready to shine.
Yeah.
Matchday 20 is shaping up to be a classic.
It does, doesn't it? All right, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the author's betting strategy and some of their key insights, maybe we should take a little breather. We'll be right back to delve deeper into this. All right, so we've covered some of the standout matches, but I'm really curious about the author's overall betting strategy this week, especially after, that quest for redemption they've got going on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Matchday 19 didn't really go their way.
Exactly. So are they playing it safe this time or going for broke?
Well, one thing they mentioned is that they're really focused on parlays this week.
Parlays. Remind me what those are again. Sometimes they get all the betting terms mixed up.
No worries, it happens to the best of us. Parlays are basically combination bets where you link multiple predictions together.
Okay, so if one prediction's wrong, the whole thing falls apart.
Exactly. Yeah. It's high risk, high reward. But if you get them all right, the payout is much bigger than if you just placed individual bets.
Okay, I see. So our author is feeling a bit daring this week, huh?
That's the impression I got. I think they're trying to recover from those losses on Matchday 19.
Makes sense. Did they mention which matches they're including in their parlays?
They did, actually. And it seems like they've picked up on the same trend we have.
Yeah.
All those matches where both teams are likely to score.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that. Like Tottenham versus Newcastle, Aston Villa versus Leicester, Southampton, and Brentford.
Exactly. Those are the ones they're focusing on for their parlays. High scoring potential.
Interesting. So they're really leaning into that both teams to score trend. It does seem like a pretty safe bet considering how many matches fit that description.
Well, safe is relative in the world of betting. But yeah, it's a trend they've identified and they're running with it.
Okay, so that's their parlay strategy. But beyond that, what other interesting insights are they using for their predictions?
Well, one thing I noticed is that they're not just going with gut feelings, they're actually diving into the data.
Oh, like stats and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. They're looking at things like recent form, home and away records, even individual player performances.
So a bit more analytical this time around, huh?
Definitely. It's a more data-driven approach. And it seems to be working, at least in some cases.
Can you give me an example of how they're using this data to make predictions?
Sure. They highlighted Bournemouth's unbeaten streak, for example, as a key factor in their prediction of a home win against Everton.
Makes sense. A team on a roll like that, you have to factor that in.
Exactly. On the other hand, they're also factoring in Chelsea's shaky away form when suggesting a potential upset by Crystal Palace.
Right, because Chelsea haven't been as dominant on the road.
Precisely. So they're looking at both sides of the coin, so to speak.
It's like they're playing detective, trying to piece together all these clues to make accurate predictions.
Exactly. And I think what's also important is that they're being really transparent about their track record.
You mean they're owning up to their mistakes from last week?
Yeah. They're not shying away from their losses. And that's a good thing, I think,
Why is that?
because it shows they're learning from their mistakes and constantly trying to improve. It's about understanding the process, not just about being right or wrong.
I see what you mean. It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Right.
Even if you're not a betting person, these insights can actually enhance the enjoyment of watching the matches.
100%. It's like getting a peek behind the curtain, You start to see things you might have missed before.
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate the game on a deeper level. So to recap, we've got the match highlights, we've got the betting strategy, and we've got this whole redemption arc going on.
It's going to be an interesting match day 20, that's for sure. Lots of twists and turns.
I can't wait. But before we get too carried away, let's hear from our listeners. What are your predictions? Are you with the author on these bold bets, or are you going in a different direction?
Yeah, let's get the conversation going. And don't forget to share your thoughts on those key players, like Hwang Hee-chan. His performance could be a game changer.
So we spent a lot of time diving into the experts' predictions, but now I'm really curious to hear your take on all of this. Which match are you most excited about, personally?
Honestly, it's tough to choose. There are so many great matchups this week. But I'm really drawn to that Brighton versus Arsenal game. I just think it'll be a really interesting one to watch.
Yeah, I can see why Brighton's always tough to beat at home, and Arsenal's been playing some really exciting attacking football.
Exactly. It's like, can Brighton's defense hold up against Arsenal's firepower?
It's a real clash of styles, a classic David and Goliath kind of situation. We all secretly root for the underdog. Right?
Oh, absolutely. But, speaking of big matches, we can't forget about Liverpool versus Manchester United.
Oh, yeah, the big one. The author's predicting a 4-0 Liverpool win. That's a pretty bold statement. Do you think they're going a bit too far with that prediction?
It's definitely a bold prediction. I mean, Liverpool's a favorite, no doubt. But 4-0, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it seems a little extreme, even if Liverpool is in top form.
Right, and you have to remember, these rivalry matches, they have a life of their own. Form can go out the window.
Yeah, Manchester United always seems to find that extra gear when they play against Liverpool.
Exactly. So while I do think Liverpool will likely win, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a much closer match than the author's predicting.
Okay, so maybe not a 4-0 blowout, but still a Liverpool victory in your book.
Yeah, probably. But hey, stranger things have happened in the Premier League.
That's for sure. Speaking of things that could shake things up, we can't forget about Hwang Hee-chan.
Oh yeah, he's the one to watch in that Wolves game.
Yeah.
Especially with Matthias Cunha being out.
Right, he's going to have to step up for Wolves. Do you think he can deliver? I mean, Nottingham Forest's defense has been pretty solid this season.
Yeah, they have been tough to break down. But I think Hwang has the potential to cause them some problems. He's a tricky player. He can create something out of nothing. All right, so we've got tactical battles, potential upsets, key players to watch, all the ingredients for another exciting Premier League weekend. I guess that's why we love this game, right?
Absolutely. The unpredictability, the passion, the drama. You just never know what's going to happen next.
That's the beauty of it. But as much as we love analyzing the expert predictions, I think it's even more fun to hear from our listeners. So let's open it up to you. What are your predictions for Match Day 20?
Yeah, who are you backing? Share your thoughts. We'd love to hear them. And don't forget to let us know who you think will be the standout players of the week. Until next time, enjoy the matches, and may your team be victorious.